Well, 1 second. Hi everyone, it's Nono here, and I want to welcome you one more week to Nono.MA Live. This is the live stream for those of you who are new that I do every Thursday, or I try at least, to reserve some time for myself to code, to do creative coding, machine intelligence, workflow automation, and many other things. Sometimes we also do live podcasting, live Q&As. And today we're going to cover a few topics that I'll mention in a bit. Feel free to use the live chat to let us know where you're connecting from, how you found us, and what you're looking for learning here. I want to get started by saying hello to familiar faces. So Rob, Sodivias, and Juanda. And for those of you who are not familiar with this format, what we're going to do is that we're going to be coding live, and you're going to be able to follow along as I do hands-on coding. I have left a few minutes of the screen, like this screen. You didn't see me for the first minutes of the video. This is something I usually don't do, but I'm just testing out to see if this helps other people join the live stream after it has started. And yeah, I would appreciate if you can tell me now if you can hear me okay, if you can see me, and if everything's fluid and is working well. And also, hello to Ricardo Cesar Rodriguez for connecting with us. It seems like we have a full pack today. All right, so let's get started. As always, and also hello to Sajay Kumarjit. All right, so as always, you can support the channel by liking this video and also by subscribing and clicking on that bell to get notified when I go live next or when I upload new videos. And many of you or all of you are on Discord already, but you can join us if you're not there yet at Nono.MA's Discord. You have an invite and we can chat. An announcement. Okay, so I get that video and audio are fine. Quick announcements. We released 2 new live streams. So last week we actually did 3 live streams, something that I usually don't do. I did 43, 44, and 45. In 44 and 45, we actually recorded a 2-part episode of the Getting Simple podcast live. You were able to collaborate on episode and the live 44 with questions to the Getting Simple podcast, which I tried to reply to the best of my knowledge and experience. And in 45, Jose Luis García del Castillo and myself did an experiment where we managed to stream live with both of us connected in real time. I gifted Jose Luis a microphone a few weeks ago, and this was the first test that we've done on the podcast live. I am preparing, we're preparing the episode audios and the edited versions for YouTube and podcast networks, and they'll come out soon. As I said, as a two-part episode, right? So it will be 2 separate episodes. And these would be the titles and the covers, right? On the left, we have 1 year of live streams, live Q&A, and on the right we have teaching and coding, which is part 2. It was really fun to do this with Jose Luis. I'll invite you to watch the live stream if you want to see the raw video if you haven't seen it yet, or just to wait for the edited version, which I hope looks or sounds well. Okay, another announcement. We released an episode on NFTs and digital art. I'm just surfacing these technologies. So I know nothing about. Please don't use any of the words that I say as financial advice, because I'm not a financial advisor and I know nothing about money and investments. But if you want to learn a bit more about the concept of what it is, what a non-fungible token is, and things like this, I'll invite you to go and play this as a YouTube video or on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or whatever you get your podcasts. And lastly, please submit voice questions to the Getting Simple podcast at gettingsimple.com/ask about these or any previous episodes, and I'll be glad to answer them there. All right, about the goals, I looked at this slide that we've been having here for many weeks already. And what I see is that we've done the live QA on the live stream, right? So that's something that we sort of promised and we've covered. And we've been building the collaborative AI sketching platform. I'll talk more about the playlist that we're preparing. And we have found a way to do an endless canvas and an accessible web app front end, which hopefully is going to be collaborative in the next weeks or whenever we can release it. We've been doing some work around the other parts, but this is mainly what we've advanced the most on. And I'm preparing a playlist that is going to be called Intelligence and Sketching, in which we're going to be editing and uploading all of the work sessions that we're doing for the AI sketching collaborative app. I thought that that would be, we're extracting the parts of the live stream that have to do with work sessions for this project. And we're going to try to put a comprehensive title of each of them and update them and upload them in a way that they're a lot nicer to watch. For example, you can see this video is 22 minutes and the other one is 10, 9, and 58. So we have different levels of engagement, but it's not the same. If you want to follow the AI sketching project, it's probably not the same watching a 1 or 2 hour live stream than watching a 10 or 9-minute video summary. So that's what we're gonna aim for this. And also it's for people who come later and haven't been able to follow up with the live streams. What are we gonna do today? I have a few topics. So I've been on the live stream working with React, esbuild, and TypeScript and other technologies. And I've also been playing with Pixel to Style to Pixel. And today we're going to, the main focus of today is to do a recap on the technologies that we're using for the web and try to actually use them. We're going to see a bit of theory, a few slides that we might make into tutorials, and later we're going to be coding. And this is just to give an opportunity for anyone who's not a web developer to be able to follow along with what we're going to be doing on the website development side when we code the AI sketching app. This is building apps slowly, and I don't intend to make this happen super fast. But we'll see it week after week, and hopefully we get to a product that is nice and that we can all make use of and experiment with. Okay, let me take a quick look. All right, so we're gonna get started really soon. I'm gonna drink some water. I'm gonna get ready for the tutorial recording or this presentation part. So today I prepare slides. So this is something I'm not doing lately a lot, but today I prepare slides, and hopefully that makes it clear or more digestive to listen to me talking about concepts, so you don't lose yourself between the lines of code. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to take a quick water break. Please let me know what you think of these topics, what we've seen already, and feel free to say anything on the chat. I'll be glad to answer any questions as well. Okay, we're back. Nice. Right. Let me just take a look at something really quickly, because sometimes I forget to switch off a few things that make my computer go super slow. All right. That should be fine. So I see here, let me zoom in a bit. I see here a question from Ricardo. So let me see if I can do this, pop out the chat and try to merge this here for a second. So, oh, maybe on the other side of the screen. Right, great. So Ricardo says here, I'm curious about pixel to pixel, so pixel to style to pixel. Do you think I could train a model using RTX 2060 6GB, because on my GPU pix to pix works, but pix to pix HD doesn't? I have no idea. I'm sorry, I wish I could help there, but it seems, yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried training yet. I thought of StyleGAN models, right? Which if you can train StyleGAN, probably you can train this one, but otherwise we'll have to go to Colab. I don't know. That's something I haven't tried yet. I haven't tried training the model myself. So we'll see. If you do any experiments, please post them on the Discord server. We'd love to learn more about those. All right, so let's leave this out for a second. Great. Okay, so we're gonna start recording. I'm gonna make sure that everything's fine, everything's good, and I can see myself. Oh, gonna make a few screenshots for the cover. Okay, let's get started. Hi everyone, it's cannot have it here. All right. Hi everyone, it's Nono here, and this is a work session of the Intelligence and Sketching playlist, in which we're trying to build a collaborative drawing application where many different robots or agents and people can draw together, and we're trying to make this with web technologies and also with machine learning models. Without further ado, let's get to see a few concepts that have to do with web development and modern technologies such as React and TypeScript. And I hope that this is useful for you to get introduced to how, all of these things work. All right. So the first technology that we're going to be using is React. This is the modern web development framework built in JavaScript that also work with TypeScript that makes it really easy to create reusable components and reactive applications that you can, are really responsive and can work in any device if you port them, but work on the web browser. Then we have esbuild, that is a bundler. So this is something that's called bundler. It gets all your application assets and it can build them targeting a given environment in which it has to execute. And we're gonna see, but people say that this is a lot faster than Webpack and has a lot of other nice things that we're gonna talk about. Then we have TypeScript, which is my language of choice to program web technologies. This is basically something we're going to see now as well, but it's based on JavaScript, but it has types, so it's strongly typed. And esbuild has native support for TypeScript and can be used with React. CreateServe, this is a small library that used with esbuild is going to give us hot reloading. So we're going to be able to see our changes applied directly into a website when we're programming a React application. RKO is an application that we're going to be using for state management. So the state application, we're going to be able to create commands in our application to have an initial state and also persist the state across sessions and other nice things. React hotkeys to add key shortcuts, maybe undo or redo stack, which is natively supported by RKO. And Radix UI is something that we might use for web components such as sliders and other things. All right, so let's get started and take a look first at TypeScript. As I said, TypeScript is JavaScript with syntax for types. And, what we can see or understand why we use this. It's a strongly typed programming language that builds on top of JavaScript. And this allows us to spot errors and mismatching types and compilation things at the moment that we're writing code. So we don't have to wait for execution. Sometimes it still happens, but not as much as in JavaScript, right? In JavaScript, you many times have to run the application to see that there are some errors that you could actually identify before with a strongly typed language. Here's how you create an initial tsconfig.json. This is the file that has your TypeScript configuration. There's many different things that we're not gonna see today, but we'll just see a quick rundown of all the options that TypeScript gives you by default when you run this command, right? So you run tsc init. If you have TypeScript installed on your machine, you have the tsc compiler, which basically is a transpiler that converts JavaScript into TypeScript. You have TypeScript, so TypeScript, I'll say that again. The tsc transpiler, that is an application or a program that transpiles JavaScript, that transcribes TypeScript code into JavaScript. That means that you're writing your code into TypeScript, run some program, and then you get the same code into JavaScript. The purpose of that, as we talked before, is to have a strongly typed language where you can spot problems before you run your code. And then you can verify that TypeScript is installed on your machine just with tsc-v. And right now I have version 4.3.3. All right, so this is, let me just go back a bit into these things, right? So we've been talking about these technologies here, and with this, I'm trying to build a more comprehensive guide for people who want to get introduced to this. I didn't properly do this before because we didn't really know what tools we were going to be using in this series, but now we know. So today we're seeing in a bit more depth TypeScript, esbuild, and React, but we'll see everything in a hands-on coding session. All right, so let's keep ahead so we don't get back at where we were and get started with esbuild. And I'm going to introduce this again just in case we do another tutorial. All right. Hi everyone, it's Nono here, and this is an overview on esbuild. It's an extremely fast JavaScript bundler that is apparently faster than Webpack or Rollup. and allows us to get resources that our application needs to run and bundle them, minify them, and compile them in a way in which we can deploy them to the web or to other environments such as Node.js. If we see this animation, esbuild seems to build 10 copies of the 3JS library a lot of times, I think 10 times faster than other libraries such as Parcel, Rollup, and Webpack. And I'm not going to wait because this is really slow, but you get the point. esbuild is really fast, and we're going to see it today. esbuild gets so I don't know. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let's go here. Let's see a few properties of esbuild. It is a fast JavaScript bundler. It's written in Go, so that's Golang, the language developed by Google, and can work in JavaScript, Go, and the CLI. You can compile code from TypeScript, right? So it has native TypeScript support. And here's how you install it. You run, oh, okay, so I didn't put this is things that happen with live stream. So all right, so let's go here. Okay, so esbuild has two main APIs. One is the transform API and the other one is the build API. The transform API operates on a single string without access to a file system. So it's something that you run on the command line, for instance. And the build API actually lets you operate on one or more files in your file system. This is something you would do if you have a web app and you want to get files that are written maybe in TypeScript or somewhere else, and then compile the bundled assets that you want to deploy to the web. Then how do we use it? So we can use the transform API in the command line. So we'll run, for example, an echo command. So we print something, and then with that slash, right, we're printing here that piece of TypeScript code, and then we run esbuild with the TypeScript loader in that piece of text that is being printed, and then we get this, right? So we get JavaScript code that can run on the browser or anywhere. And we can use it also on the command line, but with the build API, in which we basically do this, which is, okay, so let me go back there. And then we have the build API that we can also run on the command line, in which we can write the same TypeScript code into a TypeScript file, in this case in.ts. And then we can run the esbuild program into that file and then outputting a JavaScript file. In this case, we don't specify the loader because the extension of the file already specifies it. And then, we can take a look at out.js and we would get the same JavaScript code than before. And if we take a look lastly at the API in TypeScript or JavaScript, right, how you would actually use it if you want to. And if we take a look at the build API in TypeScript, how you would build it for real or use it for real if you're compiling an application and running a command, is that you will specify a build.config.mjs file. This is your kind of model definition file. You import esbuild as a module that you have installed with as an npm model locally on your project. And then you would, oh, I thought that this was being printed automatically. Okay. And then you would specify the entry point of your application, whether you want to bundle, where the files need to be output to the target, whether you want to watch the project, and plugins and stuff. So these are different. This is let me give me 1 second. Okay. And this is, in a nutshell, scheme of what you would have to define if you want to compile your project. And we'll see in other videos more in depth how to do this. Specifically today in the live stream, we're going to see how to use esbuild and actually get our application to compile. For those of you who are just watching the video, this is live stream 46 of the Nono.MA live stream or YouTube channel, and in case you want to get some more context about this video. All right. Okay, so let me actually make sure of something, because I think I either skipped or overrode the slide. Oh, I did override the slide. Okay, so yeah, what I had initially that I'm gonna have to shuffle a bit, because okay, let me quickly do that so we can put this on the tutorial. I'm gonna mute myself while I do the slide, because that makes it a lot easier to remove this content later. All right, and this has to go in between the features and the second slide. Here's how we would install esbuild in our system. So we can either install it locally in a project with npm install save development esbuild, and then we can call the binary that would be inside of our node models folder, and we can ask for the version, or we can install it globally in your system and just install globally and then run the globally available binary, and then we'll get the same version. And then this has to go with the behind the last slide that we had before the install part. All right. And then lastly, you would use the build API from the command line, but using that model file that we've defined. So you'll do node.esbuild.config.mjs. Dev is for having a development flag, TSC is for TypeScript, and then watch is the watch flag. This works because we have behind on the code that we saw earlier, right? We actually are loading esbuild, and this is a script, so we don't really need to run the esbuild binary anymore, because we're loading esbuild as a node package inside of our JavaScript application. All right, I hope that this gave you a quick overview. Okay. I hope that this gave you a good idea of what esbuild is used for, and I would invite you to watch some of my other videos on how to actually get your hands dirty and do a hands-on coding exercise with esbuild into building a React and TypeScript application. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right, so that was for that part of the video, and I'm not sure how much we'll edit, but let's keep going. And now I'm just gonna do a quick intro, and we're gonna get started with coding. So we're gonna start actually using these things. Okay. All right, so we're gonna get, let me actually put the break slide, so we know that we have to remove this later. Any thoughts? Is this material that you would like to see in future live streams? This is something useful. I would like to also say that we have some. I'm gonna start to put some like affiliate and sponsor links on the description of the video. So if you click on them or you access through those, might give the channel or me some like little amount of money as a referral or something. I'm barely making anything at all, but I need to tell you this because I have to start doing that if I put any of those links there. But it helps support the channel. All right, so again, another quick break. This makes it easier later to edit as well, because we divide the video in blocks, and I'll be back really soon, and we're gonna continue with React, TypeScript, and esbuild, and many of the other technologies that we have seen here. I don't know if I can, I have to click through all these transitions. I don't have like a build. So yeah, this is what we're gonna see. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back, and we'll keep coding. Okay, let's get back, and this is gonna be a section of code. So let's introduce the section, and I don't know what this is gonna be, but let's see. Hi everyone, it's Nono here, and this is a hands-on coding session with React, esbuild, TypeScript, and other modern web technologies. I'm going to show you here some of the technologies that we're going to be using that might or might not appear in this tutorial, but I'm going to try to use many of them. And we're going to get started from scratch. We're going to be basing this on some work that we've done previously on the live stream, but we're going to try to go step by step building an application from scratch. So without further ado, let's get coding. All right. Enough slides for today. And now we're going to get into the developer mode. Great. All right, so where are we going to start? Dark mode. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to create a folder for our project because we're going to do everything from scratch. So it's going to be React or maybe esbuild React TypeScript. And we're going to get inside of that folder. So we're going to do, let me make my font bigger because that way you're going to be able to see better. So we're going to do npm init. Yes, so we say yes to everything, and this creates this package.json file for our project, which is the first thing that we're going to be using. This is, if you're not familiar with Node, you probably should be to follow this, but I'm going to try to explain everything, right? So this is going to have our script, so the build scripts or any other scripts or application. We'll write a build script later here. And we have our name, a description, and maybe we put a description here, a starter app to use React, TypeScript, and esbuild, and more. So maybe we do that. With React, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then here later we'll have a dependencies block that will have the dependencies of the things that we install here. But before we install any dependencies, we're gonna start writing some code. Actually, maybe let's do it the other way around. Let's add esbuild first thing, so we can, instead of using the terminal in another window, we're gonna start doing it here, and we're gonna do here, let me do it so you see it. So I'm gonna do npm install save the esbuild. So this will install esbuild inside of this project, and it's going to list it here as a dev dependency. You can see we've installed version 0.13.8. The 0.0 at the beginning means that there's fast changes and maybe you can get breaking changes because it's under development. Now we can go here and we could do directly node models.bin.esbuild, and then we can run the version command so we can see what version we've installed, right? This means that it works and we can directly start using this binary on the command line to run esbuild commands. So we can do, for instance, here loader TypeScript, and we haven't provided any code, so that doesn't work, but we can do here an echo. So we can do here let x, which is a number, be 1, and then we get, so let me zoom out. With this command we're echoing, so right, if we do echo here, this just prints. So what this is doing is that this is printing, and then this means that this command is going to use the string that we get from the previous command, right? So what we do is that we execute esbuild with the TypeScript loader into this code, and this is what we get back. All right, so this is transpiling TypeScript into JavaScript, right? We could have here string and that does that, but that, you know, that doesn't really make sense because it's not good. Let's see if this works. Okay, so that works. Now we have a string and this converted a string. All right, so that works. That means that we've installed esbuild properly, and then we can keep going. What we actually have seen previously, if we go back to our tutorial code, or maybe I don't have it anymore because I closed it, is that we were running a command on an esbuild config file. So that would be if we create our own esbuild config.mjs, right, file. And now what we do here is that we import esbuild from esbuild. Right here we could say, okay, print esbuild just to test that this is working. And now we need a command that executes this code. So we do node, we run esbuild, and then we do that, right? So that works because we've installed esbuild and we can import it, and then we can print it here. And the next thing that we can do here is specify flags. So we're going to specify these flags and run it. And, you know, that doesn't change anything right now, but it will later. And the next thing we could do, because here we're going to put our build code, or like this is a build code. What we're going to do is that we're going to go back to our package file. And where I mentioned before here, we're going to make a build command that's going to execute that command that we just made. So now instead of running this on the command line every time, we can run npm run build, and we'll get the same thing, right? We'll execute that command and we'll get the same output that before. All right, so this seems to be working. So we've done the first thing, which is installing esbuild, verifying that it works, and creating a boilerplate build file that we can use to compile some code. We don't have any code right now, so we can go here, create a new folder, code it source or src for our source code, and maybe create our first application file. So let's call this sample.js, or maybe let's go one step further and call it directly sample.ts, as we did before. So we can do here maybe some TypeScript, and we could compile this to JavaScript, right? I'm gonna start here. We'll do here to specify how to build. We can use this esbuild library that we're importing, and note that when I go and write a dot at the end, I'm gonna get an autocomplete for all of the available commands that I have here. So for example, we're going to use the build command, and then here we'll have to specify our parameters. And once we run our npm run build, this file will execute, and instead of logging, it will build our application. Right now it's going to warn us because there's nothing here, but we'll have to pass parameters. So what are those parameters that we have to pass? Let me pause for a second, get some cheat sheet that I wanted to have to make sure that we follow this tutorial properly. All right, so what we'll do here first is specify our entry points. which is going to be an array of files that we want to compile. The first one is, of course, source/sample.ts. And we also need to specify whether we want to bundle this. We can actually see the keys in here, right? So for example, if I write bundle or output file or things like this, and we're going to specify that our file is going to be a dist bundle.js. Let's take a look to see if we can already run it. All right, so that seems like it runs. Now this has created the dist folder. We can open it and then we can click on this bundle file. And we see that we have our JavaScript, right? We get already some problems. Cannot redeclare block scope variable. X was also declared here. I don't know where it is declared as well, but you know, that's complaining for some reason. Let's try to do something here. So let list equal 1. So let's just do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then list dot map something like that. And now we recompile. Right, now we get our bundle and it just converted our code. Okay, so this is working. So now we can start making things a bit more configured here. So we'll have to say if we want to minify the file. So when we do that, we see that now our code is starting to get a bit more minimal. So it's not that human readable. And that also makes the file size smaller, right? Then we're going to target different platforms. So here we'll target Chrome 58, Firefox 57, Safari 11, and then Microsoft Edge 18. We'll leave that this way. So we build again. Nothing really changes. There's nothing that needs to be changed in there. We're going to generate a source map so we can track errors and things that are happening on runtime in our application. So we run that again. And now, apart from our bundle.js, we're getting this map. And there is some mappings here that map our bundled code to the actual source code that we had. So here you can see this is actually TypeScript, right? So let's try to make use of this later if I remember. All right, let's keep going. We are almost done with the initial setup. We'll also have here a watch property in which we'll be able to specify callbacks. Like for example, when we rebuild, what happens here. And other things, and then we'll also be able to specify plugins, and we might specify a plugin to load CSS later. There's other things that we'll do, but we're going to leave that aside for later. And then here we're going to catch errors, and we'll direct any errors that we get to the console. All right, this is everything we need for now. Let me see if we need anything else. Okay, we'll do reloading later and serving the project. We don't want to do that right now. And what we're going to do now is this sample TS, I'm going to rename it to index.ts x, right? That's going to be our React application entry point, and it's going to be written in TypeScript. TSX is the TypeScript version of JSX, which is the JavaScript element syntax. We have explained that in other videos, so I'll just point you to Google if you don't know what JSX is, but this is something used in React and other web development libraries. All right, so let's keep going. We have this index.tsx file here. And as you can see on our packages, we still haven't installed React or the React DOM dependency. We're going to open our console, take a look here at the dependencies, and we're going to do npm install, and then we're going to install React and React DOM. And I believe we still need to install the types for TypeScript, right? So we do that, we add 11 packages, and then when we take a look at our dependencies, we see that types and React are here. And I believe that we can install the type packages as development packages with this D flag. And I'm going to do that. Let's see. All right. Okay. So we have the types, we have esbuild, we have React, and we have React DOM. And now what I'm going to do is start writing the code for our application. So we're going to go to our index.ts and we're going to import everything as React from React. This is JSX. So if you just use HTML tags. All right, so we just import React. We import the React DOM. React DOM from React DOM. We'll have to import our application later, but we don't do that right now. And maybe stylesheets. But all we have to do to have this application running is call the React DOM to render, and then put some TSX or JSX here, which we're just going to say hello React. Hello React. So let's just put here maybe spacecraft, and we'll pass here the name of the element in which we're going to mount our application. We've seen this on previous videos, but I'll briefly go over it again. So we have imported React, we're rendering in the DOM, and we're rendering this JSX code, so hello React and this spacecraft, into the root, into an element of the document, HTML document DOM, or document object model, with ID equal to DOM, to root, with ID equal to root. All right, what are we missing? So what we're missing is an HTML file, which we're going to put here. So we just have index.html, and the short version of how we could do this is simply creating a file that has a body and a head, and has a div here that has ID equal root. And this won't work because we're not loading any JavaScript. So the thing that we need to do after our body loads is that we need a script. We're going to tell it that the type is model, and we're going to tell it that the source of our script is our bundle.js file, right? So we have this script, it's going to load, and we can put here a no script task, and we can put here a no script tag that will let our user that they need to activate JavaScript for this application to run. You need to enable JavaScript to run this app. Maybe smiley. I don't know if smileys will be supported. All right, so this is the minimal HTML that we can write for that. And what we're going to do once again is we're going to go here. We're going to change sample TS for index.tsx, and we'll run our npm run build command once again. And once that runs, now it takes longer because it's actually bundling React and React DOM inside of our applications bundle. and that takes a bit longer than just doing what we were doing before. This is minifying as well, which makes it slower. And maybe one thing we want to do is that we want to stop the part that actually minifies. Okay, let's just put these to false and these to false as well. Oh, okay, so it doesn't take that long, but we have this watch flag here that makes the process hang, and we're gonna remove this from here. So we just do npm run build, and that should get done, right? Or maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay, so I guess this is similar to putting a watch flag, because as I put the watch thing here, this also gets hung. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna okay, reminder, add the watch flag to package.json build command. All right, so command. Okay, so we have this here. So now when I run npm, let me just show you here, npm run build, we get that build, right? And we have our application here, and this is our map. Let's delete the map. All right, and one thing that we forgot about, right, and this is good that you see, so this way we learn what's going on. This code is super simple, right? This is just the code that we had in our file, just converting to JavaScript. And if I do the minify, you can see that, you know, it's really short. React and React DOM are really big libraries, probably not that big compared to others, but we're missing something here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the bundle option here, and I'm going to do npm run build again and go here. So now our file, so our bundle.js file, this makes a lot of sense, right? This contains the full React and React DOM libraries in their 17.0 version. And that's something that we can use to run our application. This file here is apparently loading that JavaScript and mounting it into the root HTML item. How do we serve that now? So we will have to open here. So we'll reveal in Finder. We'll have to go to the source. We'll have to copy this index.html into a distribution folder, and we have those in the same directory. I believe I can directly run here HTTP server. Yes, okay. And specify this guy's folder. Okay, so you see what I'm doing. This is also an npm model, I believe. So let's say which HTTP server, local bin, and I think this is a so it's an npm model. All right, so we'll run HTTP server and the path in which you have your dist file, and this is something, you know, this is something that you could install with npm install global HTTP server. All right, so we run that, we get our app is being executed here, and look what we have. We have this hello React, right? So it makes me a bit dizzy seeing that typeface there. So maybe just one quick thing we can do is that we can change this here really quickly. It doesn't really matter. All right. Right. So this is working now. Let me just. It's okay. So this is working, and this is great because from scratch we are using esbuild to run transpiler in JavaScript, so from TypeScript to JavaScript, bundle application, and this index file is mounting the application on the web browser. So if I were to add some other elements here in JSX, we can put like this is maybe this is an H1 and this is a paragraph. This works for coding live. All right, so if I reload, this loads the same content because we have to do npm run build. This will rebuild our bundle.js, and then when I reload, this is actually reloading our application, right? Note that I had to do Command-Shift-R to refresh the scripts, because if we look at the source code of this web app, bundle.js always has the same name, and your browser caches that. So there is something called cache busting that is done many times in this type of applications, where every time we rebuild, we'll have a unique hash at the end of the name. So the browser is forced to reload until we build for the next time. All right, so we have this application, and once again, let's make a rebuild. I reload, nothing happens. I build again, and if I reload, nothing happens. But if I press Command-Shift-R, this works, right? All right, so this is the simplest React application that we can code. This is one file. It has TypeScript, it has React, React DOM, and some JSX, and the ID of an element in which we mount our elements or our entire application here in this root with React, right? If I take a look at what's going on the actual HTML, you see this is a root element, and what's going on is that React is mounting our components here, right? And right now we don't even have a component, we just have the application. All right, so that makes sense hopefully in your head, and what we're gonna do is do something that is really cool, that it's a bit of sidetracking thing, but let's wait until later, until we have live reload to do that. So okay, so this is working, it's here, but we want to have a better way to serve this application that is ingrained into the way that we're building. We don't want to have to use HTTP server, that is something separate, to build our application and build it manually every time that we reload. For that, there is something called that we had on our slides, that is called create serve. Create serve is a library that lets us add some steps to our build file and automatically rebuild the application when there are changes on the code. All right, so the first thing that we can do to automate a bit is that we don't want to be copying over this index.html file manually every time that we build our application, right? And we make changes to it. So we can add a step for that. So we'll import fs, but we need to install it first. So this is the file system library. So I'm gonna install it as a dev dependency. So I'll do, and then I'll install also as dev the types for Node, because this is part of the Node libraries. So we've added those two packages. Now we can go back, we see that those are here, and I can now safely do import fs from fs, and then we can use fs to copy files. All right, so we will take a look first that if our folder doesn't exist, we're gonna create it. So that's the first step. That will only happen probably at the first time we build, or if you delete the folder, and we can actually test that. So I can remove, so I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna delete this folder, I'm gonna rebuild, and now you can see that the folder is created. What would happen if we don't have that checked? Nothing happens, because esbuild probably takes care of it. But we want to do something else here. We want to copy a file that is going to be the index in source to the dist folder. And if we have any errors, we're gonna throw an error. All right, so I'm gonna do that again. So I'm gonna go here, I'm going to run npm run build, and we have an error, right? No such file directory, because that folder wasn't there, but then esbuild creates it, so I can run this and we don't have any errors. But just to be on the safe side, we're gonna leave this statement here, because now I can remove the dist folder, I can run our script, and I can see that we now have those built there, right? We're still running this HTTPS server, and I could load that website again and see that now every time I rebuild, so for example, before I deleted the style, right? So now I can rebuild, and now that's automatically being copied, right? So this is our index in source. When we build, it just gets copied. It's just a copy operation. All right, so let's remove that. And let's now add automatic building. So for that, I mentioned that we need to install the create serve library, their icon, which might appear there later, is this one. So we're just going to install that, and with that, we're going to see how we can automate our build process a bit more. Okay, we go back to our build config file. We now also import from create serve we import serve error and log, and we're gonna get a variable from our input command, from that node command that we had before. We're gonna get the whether the dev flag is there and whether the watch flag is there. Actually, let's scratch that last part. We want to see whether the dev flag is on that command. So is dev server. We just need to check whether the process arguments includes the dev flag. And we can return here, just remove, so nothing else. Let me see if we can do this. Okay, so it's true here because this is the command that is being run. So we just verifying that this works. So if we put here dev, it's false, but if we put here dev, it's true. All right, so that's working. We can go back to where we were. And then the first thing we want to do is that if we're in dev server mode, we're going to tell our serve to start, and we're going to pass that the port is going to be 5000. The root is going to be dist, and this is going to be live. which means that it's going to be live reloading and rebuilding, or it's going to be looking at whether we're making changes to the file system. Let's take a look how this works already. Let's see. So if I do npm run build, all right, so we seem like this now is serving. We can go to this page here, and now this is at a new address. So we're not using, or we are actually, but I'm gonna stop HTTP serve. So now we just have this serving application. And the first thing we're gonna try to do is to make some changes to our code, just to see if this is working. So we duplicate this, nothing happens, and nothing is really happening here. All right, why is that? I'm gonna go and configure here, because we need to configure this watch block. I'm gonna add here the watch parameter again. Actually, I'm gonna leave it out just to see if that is needed or not. And we're going to do this, but only if isDev server, right? So if isDev server, we're gonna provide a watch block in which we're gonna try to do something to rebuild. And here we say serve update. And if we have error, we use the error handler to say that we failed. Otherwise, we log that we updated. All right, let's take a look at how this works now. So we go here again, we stop this, we rerun, and now we have our application. So this is working again. And let's put this below, because we're gonna edit this once more. So we press save. Haha, now take a look at this. So now this, as I change things here, this is working, and I save. Now this reloads automatically, right? So we have live reload now with esbuild, create serve, TypeScript, and React, and fs, which is copying our files over. All right, so now we can, we have a nice setup to continue and make sure that we can develop here an application. So this is creating the boilerplate for everything we need to create an interactive application. All right, so what else are we missing? For once, because I said before that I don't really like seeing this typeface, we need a way to load style sheets. I'm going to create a global file here that is going to contain our styles. Okay, scratch that. I'm going to create a style.css file that's going to contain our style sheets here. And just for fun, I'm going to say that the font family of everything is system UI, and that the color is sea green, for instance. Of course, this doesn't show because we're not loading it, and we're going to see that when we import our style, this is not really doing anything, right? So the server, as you can see below, is updating, but we don't yet see the styles being applied here. This is because esbuild doesn't know anything yet about the CSS style sheets, right? I have here a to-do. We need to install a plugin, and we go back to npm here. So let me stop the server for a second, and I'm going to do another npm install. And that one is called, we install it for development again. this is the same that if you do def, I believe, is esbuild CSS models plugin. We install it. We've added 45 packages, so this seems there are many dependencies used there to compile CSS. And now we need to load that plugin and then specify in our esbuild command that we want to use it. So we do import CSS models plugin from esbuild CSS model plugin. We're not using anything, but we can just come down here, take a look at the placeholder we left in here, and we just pass along that plugin. And we could have many more plugins here, but we don't have any yet. And now we go back to our build command, and something's not working. Okay, so we gotta remove that last part. And now we specified here our models plugin, but make sure to call the function to make this an object being returned. And we could load as many plugins as we wanted here that are compatible with esbuild. All right, so now that we have that, we rebuild our server again, we allow communications, and we reload here. Once we reload, that plugin should be enabled. All right, I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna put the screen in black or some placeholder just to make sure that I know that this needs to be removed. And feel free to put any questions on the chat if you're following along, or how do you think this is going? Okay, so I'm yet not sure what is going on here, why this is not working. I'm trying to figure out if there are any the example that I have prepared and the code that is in here. So these are new things that I've added. And let me see. Okay, silly error. Just figure it out. Okay, cool. I'm going to continue with this for a second, and great. All right, so I'm gonna do another quick break today. There are many breaks, but I found the bug, so we're gonna or what I was missing. That's good. So we're gonna continue. I would like to, if you guys are online, give me maybe a thumbs up if this is making sense, or if you have any doubts or any questions, I can answer them as well. All right, let's keep this going. Let me quickly. All right, I'll be back. Right, short break. Let's see. No questions, no comments. Let's keep going. Right, let's make a quick review of where we are. All right, so far we've added React to the mix. We have like the simplest application that you can have on React, like 4 or 5 lines of code. We have esbuild. This is sort of a replacement to Webpack, something that I hadn't used before, but I'm using as of late because we've discovered it on the live stream. That is a super nice and easy way to get your TypeScript code into a JavaScript application working on the web. We have TypeScript, which is my language of choice for web applications. I'm trying not to use React anymore. I'm trying not to use JavaScript anymore. And create serve, which allows us to have our applications be served as a web server, but also inject incrementally the things that we do and hot reload our application. So display the things that we're changing instantaneously. We're also using or going to use, probably not today, RKO for state management and React hotkeys and React hotkeys to have commands and things shown there. And Radix UI, in the future we'll see it as well. So if we go back a few steps, I guess this is what we're using today. Not this, not this, and not this. Awesome. Awesome. So let's go back at where we were, and maybe, I don't know how this can work, but this is kind of like a break on the tutorial. Okay, so we have our style.css file. This is located in the source directory with all of our other assets. We have the index.tsx, and the style. we've already installed as a dev dependency this CSS models plugin from esbuild CSS models plugin, and we call it down here and we run it in our build command as one more plugin to esbuild. And there is one missing piece, one thing, that is that when we bundle this, right, so we're building here and our server is actually serving and stuff, we haven't seen this bundle.css yet. If we click it, we have our compiled CSS code. It's not from SCSS to CSS, it's just like probably copying it over or bundling or something. But if we open style.css, every time we change something, so for example, font weight, this gets rebuilt, and at least there is some formatting. So I could do something like this, and that shows up there, color pink, and that, it's a bit more formatted, right? So that's there, and we hadn't seen that bundle.css file before. And what's happening, why our application is not loading the CSS, is because we don't really have a pointer for the HTML to load. We're loading the JavaScript here, but we don't have a way for the website to know that it has to load our CSS bundle. So we're going to do that right now, and we'll do here a link tag that is going to have a rel, that's going to be the style sheet, and we're going to have an href, or I think a source, that is going to be .bundle.css. Let me do that again. And we're going to have an href that is going to be our bundle.css. Cool. I think just with this simple change, we'll be able to preview that. So we'll preview in localhost 5000. Great. So now this is loading. Sorry for the colors. I'm gonna change right now. So we'll remove that at least. And that. Great. Good. So now we have hot reloading also of JavaScript, so TypeScript to JavaScript and CSS. Great. You see, if I change these things as I save these reloads here, and we can add a few more things to our index.html file. So I have this warning here that I don't know where it came from, but at least I know that maybe with esbuild or from the previous project that we had with React or Perfect Freehand by Steve Reed. But this just says that, this is just a template and you see an empty page in your browser, but you can only use web fonts, meta tags, or analytics. But your application is going to be built into the bundle.js, right? So if we actually look at this on the browser, we see that this is empty, and this is just for create serve. But if you look at this in the inspect window, we actually can see many other things on the body. So we can see that the div actually has our React application mounted. All right, enough with those warnings. Let's try to make something a bit more appealing to the eye for this application. So this is like that, and maybe we want to have an app component with the application, and I'm also going to introduce something else that is called Nativefier. So I'm going to try to do this thing. So marker, marker, marker. I'm going to try to add those voice markers, so when we're editing these videos, we know when we have to change sections. So I'm going to talk now about Nativefier. So this is another Node application or program that, if we look at here, maybe which Nativefier, we see that is there, and we can see its version. This also gets installed with npm install -g Nativefier on your machine as a global package, and once you do that, you can use it here. You can use this to create an Electron app wrapping any website, and now, even though it's not an actual website, and if we stop our development server, it will stop. I'm going to create an Electron app of our of this build that we're doing right now, and just by running that command. So let's take a quick look at that. That was really fast. So I just typed Nativefier and then the URL that you want to wrap as a website. It creates this native app, which is an Electron wrapper around our web, and when we open it, we see our application. This is not working because I've stopped the server, but what we should see, what we're going to see now, is that if we start rebuilding our application again and serving it, we can see here that when we update, we have our application, which is nice because we don't have any, we don't have the browser UI, and we can develop in a better way. So now that we've done this, I'm going to do this that I've seen in some tutorials that looks really nice, and I think keeps everything slightly cleaner. So we can have our application and our code side by side, and we can see everything like this, right? So now I have this code on the right, and if I go to our React entry point, every time I change something, we see it writing here. All right. Let's close things because this is again going a bit slow. I have all right. One thing that makes my computer slow is the OBS preview, and I sometimes left it on. Okay, so one other thing that we're gonna do to start, if we wanted to start architecting our React application, one way in which this is usually done is that we could have here an app.tsx file that's going to contain our application component, and we could have a components folder that would hold our components. We could also have a state folder that would hold our components, our state files and utilities, and then inside of this new folder, I'm going to put a sample component that is going to be maybe a picture component, and that's it. So let's first go into app.tsx. How do we create our application component, and how do we use it? So as always, we import everything from React here, and now we create our app as a function, and we're going to tell also TypeScript that this is a JSX element. This means, and this is complaining probably for it, that it has to return JSX, right? So it's returning JSX. So we could say here return and simply say, okay, I have a div and this is my app component, right? So this already works, but we cannot import this into other files until we export default application. And now we're able to go to index, we're able to go here and do import app from app, or maybe likes it better like that. And now this is the moment that is magical, is that we're going to get our first component inside of the application, our first React component, and we just use this syntax, and what you can see there is my app component, Now we're editing this file, but it shows up in here. So let me make this a bit bigger, right? So now the app component is here, and we could have even different subcomponents in there, right? So now our application is here. I'm going to take everything that we have outside to our application. So our entry point is just that. It's just an entry point to our application. And we could directly import other components here. So if we go to picture and we create a new picture component, we could use the same structure here, just rename the appearances of app for picture, and then here would say picture, right? Like let's say that this is our picture component. And we could, from the application, we could say, okay, import picture from components picture, right? So now we put here a picture component, and that's loaded here. This is a bit redundant, so we are going to create here on the picture folder, we're going to create an index.ts file, and we're going to export everything from the picture file. Note how now inside of our application we can remove one level and import this. We're not importing a default in case we want to import multiple things. Fail. Let me see. All right. Okay. All right. Just so you see it, to get around that error, we export here this function instead of the default. We rerun, and then now that works. Okay. So now we're loading our. Let's recap here. We have index.tsx is our entry point. It makes use of our app component. Then we have that app component, which loads React and also the picture component we've created. We've done that trick with index.ts to export from that file into here. So we can just write import.components picture instead of having to write picture. And then we use the picture component. It's not a picture yet, but now we can do that. And what we want to do is that we want to have custom CSS for this little model, this little file. And I'd like to do something like this. So import as a style from my picture.model.css. That doesn't exist, and we're now going to see what do we need to be able to do that. We'll have to have in the same picture folder, we'll have to have that picture.model.css file, and we'll have here maybe an image class or something, and some styling. We actually do here styles, and here in our source, I'm going to create a declarations d.ts file, and we're going to declare model.model.css. So declare model and then anything called model.css, right? We do that, and now we go back here. This doesn't complain anymore. It's just grayed out because we're never using it. So we can go into here. Maybe instead of doing this, we do a div, and we put that the style is styles.image, and that doesn't work. Let's see. So we can create in Electron, we can press Command Alt I, and we'll get the same inspector that we get on the browser. Error, we're considering a boundary. All right, so let me see. Right, so this error has to do with this thing that we're doing here. Oh, okay, sorry. So this is my mistake. So here actually we have to do class name because we're just specifying the class name, and then that works. And what can we do here now? So we could say, okay, this is a block. The width is going to be maybe 200 pixels. The height is going to be 200 pixels, or maybe 150 or 100. And we want to have the border radius be 3 pixels. And for now, we'll put the background color is going to be gray. So this is like a light border, and this is lighter. All right, so this is our picture component, and maybe we could have a, so let's say title, and that's going to be the contents that we have inside. So we could say, okay, this is my div, and I want that class name is going to be styles title. See, that works. And now we do have the picture here, so my title. And now we specify, okay, let's actually go back to the main styles and remove this. So we leave maybe all the text color to this, and we're gonna also add anti-alias so our app renders a bit better. This does make a difference, right? And now, where was I? I was on the picture model. So we're gonna say that this is gonna be an absolute block. From the bottom, we're gonna have maybe 30 pixels, and from the left we're gonna have another 30 pixels. And title, my title. Okay, so position is absolute, and to make this work, this guy has to be relative. All right, so we have here 10 and 10 maybe, and we're gonna make that color white, but not yet. So let's leave it in black for now. Okay, so we have this as an image, and you know, if I say this is maybe an inline block, we can go back to our application and we could add many of them, right? So it said inline block. Why is this? Okay, so it's an inline block, but it has a block div around it. So we're gonna do this, and now display inline block. Okay, and we're gonna have margin right equals maybe 15 pixels, and maybe it's 0, 15, 15, 0, or maybe not. never know what it is. Oh, okay. Margin, I think it was right at the beginning. So here, okay. And maybe, just maybe on the style for this purpose, we do, yeah, whatever. Let's just make here a 10. I'm making this by hand, but you know, we probably should do it better. All right, so now we have this website that can load arguably pictures. They're not really pictures yet. And I'm quickly gonna make a wrapper. So we just make a wrapper that is gonna be, for now, so you see it, I'll do that. The background color is plum, and the border is 1 pixel solid black. And that's gonna be ugly, but we're just gonna wrap everything in that. Right, we got it. So this is, this is the basis of how you would make a website with content that you want to be readable. And how I do this, usually I just say, okay, for the HTML body, you just say that margin is 0 and padding is also 0. And now you have your wrapper where you're going to say, okay, the max width is going to be maybe 50 rem or maybe 30. So you see that that's the maximum. So let's make it smaller for this because we don't have a lot of room. And we say that the margin left. So you can do it like this. So this is easier for me to understand. So I do margin left 0, and no, actually you do auto, right? Auto for both of these ones, and to the right. Yeah, and that actually centers the content. And now we just need to add a bit of padding so the content doesn't show up like really close to the edges anytime, right? So we always have some padding to the sides. All right, and we could do this a bit better, but for now we're not gonna do it. And I guess we could do text align center to center these things. This is really ugly that this goes that way. Anyhow, all right, so I guess it looks a bit better this way. And now we can remove our background color and this, and we're back to what we had before. All right, let's go back to our image and make our images a bit wider. And we actually want to put an image there. So the last thing I'll do is here we can specify the props of this item, and we could have here props title. So that could be the first thing that we could add as a parameter. So here we could say, okay, my title is going to be Nono.MA, for instance. Right, and we can say here like second, third, fourth, right? So this is now a component. So we've made a React component that takes a property that's called title, and we can give that from another component to this one. We could actually use this on the top component. So we could also go to index.tsx and below the application have a picture, but we just have to import that picture from components picture, right? And then that works, and you cannot see it. Let's put it at the top because I'm there, so you probably cannot see it. Okay, I can just go to the right for a second, right? So in there, you should be able to see the Nono.MA component. So here, right? And yeah, we're gonna take that out. I'm gonna get back at my place, and we're gonna remove this component from here. All right, so we have the global style, we have this style, and now we want to have a background picture on the picture item because we want to render that, right? So we would need to do this here where we would have a background image or something, right? So what we do is that we do get the style, and then we put an object here that says, okay, background image equals props image. And we don't have that, so that's going to be null right now. But we can simply pass in our app.tsx, we can simply get another variable here as the title. And okay, let's do this the nice way. So we would do something like this. We make that way, put this here, and then we say image is going to be, and then here your URL, right? It would be actually, yeah, it would be a URL, because inside we can actually do something to format our string, where we would have the URL constructed for CSS, right? So that would be our URL schema. This is usually the CSS URL schema. Normally it's something, let me actually go to CSS and do that. So it would be, normally if we put it here manually, we could put here background image equals URL, and then your image URL in here. And you know, we can actually do that quickly. So we can open a new window. I'll go look for, so let's actually, to make it easier, what is the easiest way for me to do this? Yeah, maybe the sketches RSS feed that I have. So this has a lot of images, so we can simply grab image URLs from here, and you know, we could specify a URL there. And if we remove this override, so our application is making a web request now, so we need to allow it. And not working at the moment. Maybe something failed. So all right, a second for questions. Okay, so we have a quick question from Sajel. Let me bring that up. We're gonna, yeah, we're close to wrapping up now. So quickly here, the question says, are you, I don't know how to remove this from here. Are you not using the WebRTC that you had explored earlier? Is CreateServe doing the same thing? I'm confused about how the communication protocol works. Okay, esbuild compiles our application, and CreateServe simply makes sure that that rebuild process gets to happen every time I change the code and we see the results live. This is a communication between the coding environment and the website that we're developing on, and we can see, but actually this has nothing to do with WebRTC. WebRTC is a library like WebSockets, and I mean, YJS uses those providers, in which we can have the websites, once deployed, being used by different people and communicate over the web, right? So we can have shared text or shared shapes or designs and things like this. So the WebRTC is like collaboration protocol provider. CreateServe is something different. So I hope that answers your question. All right, so let's wrap up here. Let's see what's failing. But you know, this would be the way to do it. I don't know why it's not working. Let's take a look here. If we can actually pass a URL in here. So let me just pass a URL there. And I actually, okay, let's get back. This is funny. So I have this image here, and maybe it is working. The problem is that we haven't defined the styling of this item. So I have to also do background position equals center, and background size is cover. Maybe it doesn't work. Background image, let's remove this just in case. All right. Okay, so we can inspect here the HTML elements to see what's going on. So we have this, and then we have our images. Okay, props image. All right, so that's not being expanded. That's the problem. And if we go here, all right, that's my error, my bad. Great, cool. So now it seems like this is working, so I may be able to leave the image as it was. We can add some padding here. Maybe we don't need the image to be loaded so big. Maybe 800, or maybe great. Okay, so we are making this square. All right, so that seems like it's working. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get a few more URLs and go. So we'll take a look here. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to put here maybe zoom H6, and we'll copy that a few times so we have a few more images, right? And we're gonna get also this one. We're gonna get this one. Maybe let's just go to the end. Right, and this one. Great. So the title doesn't seem to match really well with the design we have, but you know, it's okay. I don't think we need to care about that today. Maybe we made vertical cards. All right, that seems to work better. Okay, so we have our title. So maybe we do the font size to be 0.9 or 0.75, and maybe we want it to be a bit lighter. And once again, I feel that I'm in the middle of the screen, so I'm gonna put here Sony A600 out of context, and this one all right. So yeah, these are the cards that we've made. So this is the page that we made today, and I think the result looks pretty cool. I think we got pretty far, and I don't think I'm leaving out anything super important. We probably could add more things in here, so let me maybe take a look at what we're missing. So we don't have a title or anything. And yeah, so we probably have to add things like the meta charge set UTF-8, the link rel icon, href favicon.eco, which we don't have. It would probably be complaining, so we can do that. Hello React. Right, so that would be now the name of our application, but not now because we would need to rebuild this with Nativefier. We can specify the language of our application. And one thing that we can do is put here a viewport meta tag that would specify the content width is equal to the divide width, and the initial scale is equal to 1. Yeah, and all of that works, it seems. So I think we need to rebuild for this to copy. And yeah, so this seems like everything is working. We can go back to our browser and load that in here. So just note that we've been coding our application zoomed in, so that's why now it looks super small. And we just have to go back here, press Command 0, and readjust a bit the size of our things. But for the purpose of today, I think this is more than enough. All right, so now quickly I'm gonna make an outro, and all right, so maybe we can even make this part of an intro. Just to give you an overview of what we're going to achieve with this tutorial is that you're going to be able to run npm run build on your machine and get a website being served in development in your computer, and you're going to be able to go into your applications code and change things like this. Right? This is being changed and it changes here, and we could even remove things or duplicate existing cards here and do many other things like testing, and seeing our changes being applied on real time. Okay, I'm gonna record an outro and we'll wrap up. It was Nono Martinez Alonso here. I hope that you got something out of this tutorial in which we covered many technologies, among which were React, TypeScript, the create serve packets, esbuild library, and many other things. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. And don't forget to check my channel. I have many other videos covering similar topics, and leave some comments if you found it useful. Bye. All right, so we've covered a lot, and I'm going to delete this application. So for this one, we're going to commit this, but we're going to make sure that we have a git ignore file. So this would be out of the tutorial, but we're just doing this to make sure that you guys have access to these files. And at least we're gonna git ignore the store files and this. All right, so we'll move, as always, we'll move this into the livestream folder repository. Make there, this is live 46. And this is not a Git repository, so we can safely, let's copy recursively so we keep a real copy on the desktop. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Great, so let's take a look now at the diff. So git status, and we have this folder, so git status, and we add all of the files that we coded, but we don't have the node models. So we're gonna comment, this is live 46, add React, TypeScript, esbuild app, and we push that. When we finish, I'll put the links on the Discord server. I think we can safely say where this is, but yeah, this is on it's live as always. So if you're watching this later, this is folder 46. Have it here, so you have all the source code. You can run this locally and play with it and see what you do with it. Yeah, this seems like this is the latest. Okay. All right, I hope that this intelligence and sketching session was useful. In this one, we've just seen a bunch of the technologies that we're going to be using to build this collaborative AI sketching application that we've been talking about for many weeks. I really hope you got something out of it. Let me know what you think on the comments and on the Discord server. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right, so guys, let me open again these slides. Yeah, okay, I have to say, so we've been working on the AI sketching project, but we haven't done anything with React. So we've done React, esbuild, and all that stuff, but we didn't get to do anything on pix to style to pix, right? So that's, you know, I know that some of you wanted that's why you showed up and you wanted to take a look at. That is in here, so just a pointer. We probably need to dedicate, we looked at this on the live stream already, and I believe tomorrow or some other day there is a video of something that we took a look. It doesn't really say that much because I want to cover more in depth. These guys have a collab notebook that you can start playing with. I've been testing it but not doing too much, and we do need to do an in-depth dedicated live stream probably to this one to play with this model and do things with it. But today was just too much, and we didn't have time to cover it. So again, I want to finalize now. Let me know what you thought on the comments if you're watching offline, or on the live stream if you're on the, yeah, whatever. You can support this channel by visiting the sponsored links on the description of this video, and also by liking it. And you know, feel free to subscribe if you want to get notified when I go live next or when I publish new videos. We also have a calendar which you can get access to on Nono.MA/Discord if you join the Discord server. You can also go to Nono.MA/live/calendar. I'm trying to schedule live streams a bit more in advance to give you an idea of when live streams might happen. Once again, thanks for being there. It was Nono here. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. All right, really quick. Let's try to do a few. Can I do? I'm gonna try a few things here. This is vaccines. I don't know how to do these images. Well, it's okay. We'll try some other day. Well, I'm gonna stop streaming now. I hope that this was useful. Thanks, Ajay, and thanks for everyone who showed up today. I'll see you next week. I don't know if there's gonna be a live stream next week, but I'll be uploading videos, and I'll see you soon. Bye.